All right, so we are back with another professional water cooler chat, and I think actually, Kris, you are the first. You might be the first return guest. Um, and I've been having these water coolers for those who are new and joining. I've been having these professional water cooler chats for over a year now, talking to people who are doing interesting things, and just recently I started a project in consumer insights. And some people might say, what does nursing have to do with consumer insights? And that's a long story. Feel free to reach out whoever's curious about that. But that just really opened my eyes to like another world of organizations, largely retail, food and beverage, consumer packaged goods that are super interested in consumer behavior. And when I started working on this project, some of the accounts, not a ton of them, but some of the accounts were healthcare companies. And, I've been in healthcare for my entire career, and I can't remember a robust consumer insight department in any organization I've been a part of. But it seems like more recently, more systems are becoming very interested in what retail is doing in terms of paying attention to consumer needs and wants and desires and behaviors. And so I started like thinking through my network about, who like literally knows more about this than I do, and who can I talk to and have a conversation with. And Kris, you popped right up to the top, and you mentioned like a subject. Well, actually, before we get into it, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Kristin Baird. I am the founder of the Baird Group. We help healthcare organizations improve culture through leadership development and training. And I too am a nurse. And I want to circle back to something you said about,
Mm.
nursing and consumer insights. There really is a nice parallel if you
Mm.
stop and think about it. We are trained to be good in assessment, and that's really what it comes down to.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And the assessment is a word that you used to talk about this concept called the digital front door. So first, let's talk about that for those who are joining who may not be familiar with that term. And there's no specific official definition to the digital front
Right.
door, but I'll share my I guess definition, and I love to hear yours. I look at it as a conversation as a strategy. It's a conversation as a strategy that starts from a conversation around symptom checking to when a consumer or healthcare consumers, has a curiosity about, what is a symptom, to I have this system, now what, symptom, now what, to frictionless payment. And, it's to me, when I think of the digital front door now, I look at it as the end to quote how we've always done things this way. Why can we no longer do things as we've always done it this way? Because of this. That's my definition. I'd love to hear yours.
I think of it as digital touch points, right? Where we used to have the human interaction, and that was really the only way we did things. You would call for an appointment, you would come in and register, you would walk up to an information desk and ask for directions. Now, the consumer expects things much faster, much more efficiently, and hassle free, right? And healthcare is no different than that. Forever, as long as there has been healthcare marketing, marketers have been very concerned with the consumer experience, right? And so oftentimes the digital front door is part of the marketing department, at looking at the consumer experience.
Mhm. In doing research around the concept of the digital front door, I listened to podcasts from 2017, and 2017 wasn't all that long ago. First, I see we have some more people who joined us. Welcome, welcome. If you have any questions or comments for Kris, feel free to leave them here and we'll see them, or reach out to either of us individually as well. But we're talking about the digital front door. And healthcare consumer insights hasn't always been a thing, but more so recently because of lots of shifts and changes, namely the pandemic, right, has forever changed the behaviors of lots of people around lots of things. We got used to Netflix, more than we have maybe previously to 2020. We got used to DoorDash. We got used to and lots of different types of consumer and retail experiences, and then juxtaposed to that, we have healthcare. which can, sometimes that experience can be, I heard something that says it can be less like Netflix and more like cable boxes. But you talked about how you do an assessment of a digital front door, and I like that term, assessment of a digital front door. Tell me about tell me about that phrasing.
Sure. Well, my company has done medical mystery shopping now for years, and that is part of us looking at the consumer experience. And so, whether we're mystery shopping medical practices, urgent cares, inpatient, outpatient, different settings, part of that is how do they initiate their contact with the organization? And so we do tens of thousands of mystery shopping phone calls every year, right? And we do walkthroughs and patient visits. But now with the digital front door, people want to know, wait a second, how are they finding us first? What's their expectation when they look us up online? They're looking for a doctor. What is the expectation? That I can schedule an appointment online. So we do the assessment of what is that consumer experience when they are coming in contact with a healthcare organization. So it might be online scheduling, it might be the chats, it might be access to the portal, looking at what is the experience, where do they get hung up, and what are the dissatisfiers. So when somebody's looking at this, you want a seamless experience, that's what we're there to test. And we get the consumer's perceptions of both facts and feelings. So, how many clicks did it take to get you here? How did you feel about that? Did you feel it was too many, too few? What were your feelings along those lines? And so, some of the things that we find that are dissatisfiers at the digital front door are things like people might promote that they have online scheduling. And when the consumer gets so far in the scheduling process, they hit a roadblock that, oh no, you're requesting an appointment, we'll call you tomorrow, right?
Yeah, that point reminded me of what I was going to say previously. There's like there has been, I guess, in healthcare, because we kind of do lag behind, other industries by a lot sometimes, which is why I'm super excited about the organizations who want to do something different with consumer insights with the goal of shifting and really investing in that. Is, like online scheduling. I mean, for an industry such as healthcare who still uses fax machines, truth be told, having an online scheduling option where, people can do something somewhat digitally, but, get a call back, that is an advance. But again, the consumer behavior and expectation is, no, actually I want to be able to do the complete process, online and digitally. And I loved, how you mentioned, all the different parts of what the digital front door is, the chat bots, it's 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 AI communication,
Mhm.
it's all of it. It's not just like one thing or another. And I think that's like the top difference between the digital front door conversations now versus how it was like in 2017. Because I wasn't aware of the conversation in 2017, but when I was listening to a podcast, it was like the digital front door is your website. It is, physician ratings. It is that's what it is. But now it's like it's more of like a definitely a robust conversation that involves lots of different vendors. Hopefully, all of the vendors are integrated and working together, or else,
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. But that's another thing. It's like while there's like one is there's not a complete an official definition to what the digital front door is, and there's like no right now one-stop shop for everything that you need to support that. Is that what you found as well, or tell me more?
Yes, yes, it is. And a lot of organizations are really struggling with this because in many ways it's uncharted territory. They're trying to feel their way through this. And at the same time, you've got a lot of moving parts in healthcare, right? And so you've got to be sensitive to physician schedules. Physicians have always jealously guarded that schedule. That is their time, and it's very difficult to give that up, to go completely to online scheduling. There are a lot of nuances there, but the consumer has grown to expect all of the conveniences. You mentioned DoorDash. The consumer expects that. They expect to be able to access what they want online very efficiently. They want their questions answered very efficiently. And when they go to chat, and the chat isn't available after 8 p.m. or 7 p.m., that's a dissatisfier. Who doesn't have their chat accessible? Well, you know, the human body works 24/7, right? And so the way we've structured our healthcare delivery is very much around the providers, right? What's best for the providers, and so it's office hours. And so the consumer looks to what can I do when I'm not at work? What can I access? And I think telehealth has been a huge boost to all of this, that people are much more acclimated now since the pandemic, to be able to access more virtually.
Yes, yes. Yeah, the pandemic really, at first, before that, with telehealth, it was like almost like trying to push, systems to adopt it. And then it went from pushing to
Yeah.
embracing. And
Yep.
that, yeah, lots of lessons learned. And just to reset a little bit, we're talking about the digital front door. We're talking about consumer insights, retail ish experiences now becoming somewhat of an expectation, for lots of different reasons. Some of the reasons are, just lots of shifts, like literally the Amazons and Walmarts and Best Buys are, entering into the industry. And, previous to that, the choices, that healthcare consumers had, were like quite limited. But now, there's just so many, options that are coming into the industry, and such that healthcare systems are realizing, the hospital up the street isn't necessarily their main competition. It can be literally Amazon or something like that,
Right.
or Mayo. We used to think that, well, Mayo's not in our zip code, but Mayo Clinic would like to be at the hospital near you,
Yeah.
be considered an option. What are your
Eh,
thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree with you. It isn't necessarily the provider down the street. It's everything's accessible online. And so we can access doctors 24/7. Um, Hopefully, we're still striving toward the patient-centered medical home, so that we have higher quality care. But that's all the more reason why healthcare systems have got to keep up and to really listen to the voice of the consumer. What is it that they want? What is it that they expect? And how can you make a seamless experience for them?
Mm. Yes, yes. So we know it can be frustrating when, people who are in those roles. I'm talking to the consumer insights professional, because we kind of talked about it a few times. Is that, in healthcare now, there are consumer insights teams, still. And if whoever's listening, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, and give me the example. But in the retail CPG, food and beverage industry, the consumer insights departments are like almost hundreds of people. There's like a ton of people who care about, the consumers changing new behaviors and taste, and they invest heavily in that. And in healthcare, sometimes that role is paired with the consumer or the patient experience person, and they might have a couple other full-time support roles. But I'm recently seeing lots of organizations hiring for consumer insights in a way that I can't say that I've seen previously. But because you've been in this industry, not this industry, but in this focus of consumer insights in healthcare, longer than I have, I'm just curious, are you noticing more of an uptick in interest? Because Because that's just what I've noticed. Because or has it always been there and things are just the same? I'm kind of curious about that.
I think it's been repackaged. Okay, consumer insights is the jargon that you hear more right now. But having spent 17 years in healthcare marketing and business development, I can tell you that marketing has always been in consumer insights. That's what they do. People often think marketing is advertising. It's not. It's first and foremost listening to the voice of the consumer and being the guardians of the brand, right? And so that listening to the voice of the consumer is another term for consumer insights. So marketing departments are constantly having to look at external data and internal data, looking at the perceptions of the people in the market. And so it's been around, but now it's kind of being repackaged and being sometimes put with marketing and sometimes put with patient experience. Now, in my humble opinion, marketing and patient experience should be one. Because both are listening to the voice of the consumer and both are very concerned with living the brand promise. And so, I see merit in having those two very closely connected because, healthcare creates these silos. We created a different silo for patient experience when what you were saying, like in the products and goods industries, oftentimes those will be the consumer insights will be a division of the marketing and business development departments.
Mm. So, thank you so much for sharing that perspective and observation. And it's just interesting how names can be reused and changed and shifted. And I really do feel that there is a different energy, though,
Mm-hmm.
towards consumer insights and a different type of conversation that's happening
Mm-hmm.
under like this wording. And I, look at and I'm paying attention to, and I hope we all are paying attention to, the shifts that are happening towards organizations that are paying a lot of attention to consumer insights and the consumer experience. And again, the Amazons and Walmarts and Best Buys and even CrossFit. CrossFit has recently launched they're not open all over the United States yet, but primary care hubs. And I'm probably misexplaining it, but they're joining the game. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
just really, and so these are like all heavy retail companies who have heavily invested in this for some time. It's just
Mm-hmm.
going to be really interesting to see. And like I said, I feel like this digital front door effort is going to be the end to we've always done it this way. Go ahead.
And it's a matter of going to where the people are, right? I don't mean physically, but where they are mentally, what are their desires and being attuned to that. And so just like the consumer said, well, why couldn't I have a primary care appointment when I'm at the mall? Or why couldn't I have a doctor's appointment when I'm at the pharmacy? You know, making it convenient, going to where they already are and already are spending their time. We have to be thinking about that with the digital front door too. That slowly things have grown where it used to be, like you said, the digital front door is the website. Well, not anymore. What happens on the website? Am I able to chat? Am I able to make an appointment? Am I able to seek more information? Do I fill out a form, or is somebody going to call me back instantly? That's where the dissatisfiers come in too. And I really encourage anybody who is trying to expand their digital front door to check, and double check. Is it all working? Are they getting into loops that, are what is the standard for callbacks if somebody is requesting an appointment? Have you set those standards, and are you monitoring to make sure that they're upheld? So we had done an assessment on an organization where the standard was to call back within 24 hours. Well, it wasn't happening. And 24 hours is a long time. I mean, it's like with consumerism, it's like dog years, you know. You've got to pick up the phone as quickly as possible after somebody reaches out.
Thank you so much for that. So these professional water cooler chats, I try to keep them under 20 minutes, and we're at time. But I feel like I can absolutely keep going, and we might do part two. But if anyone who is listening wants a part two, feel free to reach out. And if there was something that so one of us mentioned that we would like to hear more about, message us. I always say I screen people for approachability, and that's Kris and me. So if we said something interesting, feel free to reach out to us, or if you want us to talk more about a particular topic, please do. But really, I wanted to do this for professionals who are, whether they're product marketers, consumer insights professionals, who are frustrated with when, their surveys or their attempts to get the voice of the consumer fall flat, or they feel as though surveys aren't working like they should. Stakeholders don't have the answers they want. Consumers aren't getting, the products they need. That can be like really, really frustrating. And the solution isn't necessarily one vendor. Nobody is saying, we're the end all be all. I work with a solution that has a panel of 1 million US consumers, and that's
Wow.
robust. Yes, that's robust. It's on demand. People get answers back quickly. And we work well with lots of other vendors. And some people might say they're competition, but I honestly don't feel that way, because um, by sometimes it's like people who have someone that might be a competition is like, oh, they'll be perfect for our solution because we work so well together. And Kris, you literally do the assessment of the digital front door. And so as I'm having more conversations about this, the strategy and this attention that healthcare is giving towards consumer support, I'm just seeing the importance for leaders or people who are leading this conversation or are responsible, just to be aware of the various vendors out there, just the different parts of support for their end goal. Everything starts with an assessment. So when you mentioned the phrase assessment of the digital front door, I love that, because I feel as though we work best with what I'm doing in consumer insights with people who have a level of awareness of
Mhm.
what they want to ask an audience of 1 million US consumers.
Yes.
Yeah, we help people, ask the right questions, of course, but it's just lovely when people have a level of awareness and
Mhm.
sort of know what specific questions that they want to ask. But in any case, how can people continue this conversation with you, Kris? And yeah, where can you best be reached?
Yeah, on my website, info at baird-group.com is the email address. But on our website, there are contact forms right on the bottom of the homepage if they want to go to baird-group.com.
Awesome, awesome. And if anyone is curious about how this registered nurse got into consumer insights, or need an access to a panel audience on demand, feel free to reach out to me. But Kris, thank you so much for joining me for this
Oh, it's my
conversation.
pleasure.
And yep, I look forward to staying in touch online.
All right. Thanks so much.